Hi everyone, my name is Hentschel. I'm a mental health professional here in Los Angeles, California. I'm also real as hell. So this separates me from a lot of other mental health professionals, and I like to kind of look at mental health from this perspective and give you kind of an open, honest, refreshing take on mental health topics. So today I want to talk a little bit about borderline personality disorder, also known as BPD. BPD is probably one of the most memed mental illnesses out there, and there's a reason for that. If you know you have BPD or you suspect you have BPD and you're in the market for a new therapist or psychiatrist, please make sure you tell them right away so that they can avoid you, because no mental health professional will ever willingly treat someone with BPD, and I'm going to get into why in this video. I used to get a lot of flack when I was on TikTok for stigmatizing BPD and perpetuating negative stereotypes about it, and they were absolutely right. That is what I do, because y'all are crazy. So people need to know what they're in for when they've let you into their lives. BPD is primarily characterized by fear of abandonment, and how this fear of abandonment kind of puppeteers the rest of their lives and their behaviors, like Geppetto or Kabuki theater or something like that. So let's say you enter a relationship with someone with BPD. They're going to do something called oscillate, which is a fancy word for go back and forth between idealization and devaluation. So idealization, if you've ever fallen in love with someone or been infatuated with someone and you don't really know much about them, but you've invented a person in your head who's in your mind is the perfect person, and you've fallen in love with that fantasy. That's idealization. Devaluation is basically the opposite. So a person who has BPD will treat you like you're the best thing since sliced bread. And then the second that you give them some sort of indication or they perceive a threat of being abandoned, they will flip the switch over to devaluation. So they'll say, you know what? I never loved you, and I know you never loved me. Screw you. Get out of my life. And they're doing this because they don't want to be abandoned. And they're trying to protect themselves from that pain, should that occur. The problem with this is that they have difficulty regulating their own emotions and perceiving other people's emotions. So their whole emotional kind of interface is messed up. So they might be perceiving threats from your behavior that you are not even conscious of. So you might be doing things that seem relatively innocuous, or that maybe they are totally normal and a normal person wouldn't care, but a person with BPD will perceive those things as a threat of abandonment, and they will flip the switch to devaluation, and then all of a sudden you're confused, and to them, in your mind, they're just a crazy person, and that's how their behavior looks from the outside. Another thing that characterizes BPD is, you might, if you've ever Googled the diagnostic criteria, you might have seen this phrase, chronic feelings of emptiness, or a unstable sense of self. So they feel like there's nothing inside of them, they don't know who they are, etc. Because of this, they will use other people to get information about themselves that they don't already have internally. So my ex-wife had BPD, and one night she hit my windshield with a golf club. The windshield of my car, destroyed it. And she did this because she was trying to provoke me into getting upset, which worked. So by getting upset with her, she was getting information about herself from me. She was getting the information that I cared about her and that she mattered to me because I was upset with her. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. But in the BPD person's mind, it follows a sort of destructive logic. Now, diagnosing BPD is very difficult because a lot of the diagnostic criteria are sort of phrased a lot like a horoscope, where they're so general that anybody can read them and say to themselves, you know what, this does kind of sound like me. Maybe I am like this. So, for instance, some of the diagnostic criteria are self-harm, suicidal ideation, substance abuse issues, and you're describing everybody in America, basically. So that's no help. There's also a lot of overlap with symptoms, narcissism, bipolar disorder, all of these sorts of things. So somebody might have narcissism, somebody might have whatever, and it doesn't really matter, because in my video yesterday, I talked a little bit about the idea that mental illnesses aren't even real, which is true. There's no possible way to be able to determine, based on the abstract inner workings of someone's mind, that they have a specific disorder. It doesn't make any sense. Like I said yesterday, we have to try to do this because otherwise mental health professionals, psychiatrists, and therapists would have to admit that everything they do is based on pseudoscience and doesn't actually make any sense. So they have to kind of keep up the charade that they know what they're talking about, which they don't. That makes treating BPD very difficult because A, the person probably doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, and B, there's no medication that is approved specifically to treat BPD. Honestly, there's no medication specifically approved to treat any mental disorder. It's just that we happen to find medication that for some reason helped people with whatever disorder do something by accident. And so we took that information and said, well, let's see if we give it to another person, if that helps them too. And if it does, then we use it over and over again. That's called the scientific method. So all in all, if you have BPD, you need to be very careful about how you interact with other people, because you're probably going to do something to them that is going to make them kind of think you're a Looney Tune, basically. My ex-wife was constantly torturing me emotionally and ruined my life, basically. And I'm still having a hard time getting over it. And I try to keep that out of my mental health work. But unfortunately, because mental health professionals are people at the end of the day, their idea of BPD and their idea of mental illnesses is going to be shaped by their experiences and their preconceived notions. So they might even have BPD themselves. People have accused me of having BPD, if you can believe that. So that's why, depending on which mental health professional you go to, they might have a completely different opinion about whatever is wrong with you. And this is kind of like I was talking about yesterday, the ongoing problem with mental health as a science. So where does that leave us with BPD? Well, basically, we don't know. If you have BPD, you're kind of screwed. So that's kind of all I can really help you with. I mean, the reason I don't like to treat people with BPD is because they remind me of my... You know what? I'm not going to talk about that anymore. I'm sorry. I guess that's it. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say. Sometimes I get a little upset and I just cannot... Just forget it. Okay. I think I had some good information in this video anyway. Okay. So thank you. This has been the Real as Hell Therapist. Sorry, for legal reasons, I can't say that I'm a therapist because I'm not. It's a whole long story. I'm not literally a therapist. I'm a psychotherapist. Anyway, hope y'all enjoyed this video, and let me know if you'd like to see more about the mental health world from me.